And here we are, resist nothing, my brother, unconscious of resisting. So Danielle, please take us to this page.
So
Okay.
before we continue, I have a question. So then, what is free will?
A good illusion.
A good illusion?
Yeah, a big, huge illusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question. So are you saying that if free will's a big illusion, so really we're being driven by the subconscious and unconscious? Is that what you're saying?
If you
And-
want to call it that, yes.
Okay.
You know, some people call it like there's another plane of existence where there's supercomputer and people giving us thoughts moment by moment and making things happen, and whatever scenario works. You know, but claiming that we can make any possible decision at any possible moment, that's unreal. I mean, if it's true for you, good for you, but can you even know what's going to happen this evening?
But I have a question. I feel that there have been moments that, like, I've made a decision and that was it. And I feel other moments that, like, I was driven in the wind, just like a leaf.
Yes.
So I feel like that it feels true to say that there are moments that I've used my free will and other moments that I didn't.
Right, exactly. So what I'm hearing you say is you're very attached to the idea that you're the agent of your action, your thoughts, and your emotion. You're the one making it happen. So when you made the decision to stop smoking, you, Anna, made the decision. But when you were prey to despair, there was no one deciding. You just let yourself be ridden. And the whole idea of separation is based on the idea that you are the doer, you are the body, you are the one that decide. Well, think again. It's a good story. Saying that there's no free will does not deny that you will ever make a decision. You make decisions all day long, whether to have coffee or tea, to speak or not speak. All of these are decisions. But where I get stuck is when I think that I am the one that made the decision to say this stupid thing that alienated me from a group or from another person, or I am the one that had that accident. I made an error. I shouldn't have done this. So when I really realize, and emphasis on reality, when I realize that there is no such a thing as free will, that I am not a separate agent, that I am not the doer, that XPR moves through me, not by me, so does the rest of life. Then two things disappear. The first one is the need to blame myself. The second is the need to have credit. Look at what I did. I'm not beautiful. So I find that living life without blame or the need for a need to be blamed or a need to be credited is hugely liberating.
I'll agree with you on that. I'll agree with you on that. This came from the thought that we do have a higher self, and perhaps some things, when we came to this life, we agreed to specific things depending on the lesson that we needed to learn, depending on whoever we might have had a contract with. So perhaps the higher self knew that 1, 2, 3, 4 things will for sure happen. So therefore we didn't have free will on those four things. So there's actually no one to blame. They just happened. But let's say that we made the decision to go consistently to the gym 5 days a week, and that was a decision that in the end of the day, like, made us have, like, enjoy the fruits of a healthy body, for example. Then isn't that the free will, or was that
But
also
you're still singing the song of "Look at me, how good I am to go to the gym every day." You're still attached to being credited and being a good girl versus the time that you made errors and you did something you were not supposed to. The point is you're not the doer. That's
But-
the point. And going towards the higher self is to let go of the sense of agency. You are free from the action. That's what happens, freedom. So would you rather be free, or would you rather have free will? You know, that's the question that is being looked at.
Oh, I am free, but I feel like I'm missing something that, like, this conversation is leading there, and it's like, I'm like one click away from understanding it, but I'm like having some sort of, for example, for me, like, I will admit to both of the shitty things that I have done, and the free will that, like, for example, like when Amanda was thinking that, like, she doesn't like to indulge, I'm the exact opposite. So, and I know the bad consequences of that, and like I take ownership of that as well. So I'm thinking then, because that is also free will, to not just go about the good image person, or like I'll like to look deep into myself and see what I'm, like, also choosing freely to hurt myself at.
Okay,
Well, this is a super Maha, may I?
please. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, this is, first of all, every religion on the planet has argued this topic since the beginning of time. So it's natural to have a lot of questions about it. In my experience, it's pretty simple. If I have free will, I know that every single thing I ever get, I have no complaints whatsoever. Does that resonate with you? If you actually had free will, why would you actually choose suffering without the argument that your higher self wanted you to suffer? Would you consciously choose to suffer?
Consciously choose to suffer? Um, well, okay, but then this question rises in my head.
It's just here's the deal. We're
Get
not conscious of it.
be
It's
found
an
in,
unconscious
aren't
resistance.
there? There are, I was thinking that there are gifts to be found in suffering. Like,
Fine.
But that's a different question. The silver lining, the
Yeah, there
great
is a benefit.
purpose of the universe. Fine. This is not what is being discussed. What Michael is simply asking is if you could choose to stop suffering, which was the same question I was asking Jacques Orana, if you could choose to be enlightened right now, why don't you?
It's such a deep question. It's disarming. If I actually had free will, I would be free. There would be no complaints. Because I would always choose the $1 million house. I would always choose the best looking girlfriend. I would always choose the most tasty food that was healthiest for me.
okay.
But the truth is, I'm not conscious of my unconsciousness. And that's the problem. My will is not actually freed. It's under the illusion of freedom by attaching to a story of what it thinks it is.
And also attaching to appearances. It looks like you're there and I am here. We're separate beings. We have different consciousness and we're being driven by different motives. And none of that is true. We're not separate. We just look separate. And then the illusion of separation starts in the big lie of I am the body. That's a huge lie. I am not the body. But the next lie is I am the doer. It goes with I am the body. And we're questioning all of that. And Amanda, you have a question, I see.
Not a question. I just wanted to say it out loud because my brain, like, you know, when you're like thinking about something and it like starts to slip away quickly. But to answer your question on like, if you have free will, why would you choose to suffer? The answer is the only reason you would ever choose to suffer is because you believe you want to be a victim. So that's where the unconscious ties into all of this, because here's the structure, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not getting what you say you wanted. Here's why. Here's the different ways that that is playing out and where it doesn't want to be seen.
You know, I really like that you use the word playing out because there are actually games based on experiencing the resistance fully and on getting pleasure out of it. Like, for example, if you're a masochist, ask the same question. If you had free will, would you desire, would you will into being suffering? If you're a masochist, the answer is clearly yes. And that's the power of being a masochist, is to make the unconscious conscious. This is what I want. I'm deriving pleasure and goodness out of being hurt. But I don't think that this is the game you consciously play. And that's where we're unconscious of resisting.
Does the masochist desire pain or desire suffering?
Both.
Both. And you're saying that this masochist it's correlated with the
choice.
victim.
The masochist seem to be deliberate in choosing pain and suffering. And that's another way to go about this on puzzle. Can I choose to be suffering? And when I choose that, then what's left is pain. I'm no longer suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Shakaruna, would you take us to this page, please? And thank you for the question. Those are deep, and this is a deep meditation. So thank you, Anna, and everyone.
Okay. Unconscious of resisting. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment. Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
From the
And
six.
I've noticed that there's one more line now. So we moved from above into the liquid code, into ignorance, into the unconscious archetype. Now we have one more layer to contend with, is the resistance specific to a given archetype. Okay, so please.
From the 6 archetypes of the unconscious come the 6 stages of resistance. 1, fallen angel, loneliness. Telling myself that I am separate from love and fallen from grace causes my loneliness. 2, the prostitute, sadness. Selling out and prostituting my gifts causes my sadness. 3, saboteur, shame, letting myself be led into temptation causes my shame. The victim, fear, identifying to being hurt and not taking responsibility for my life causes my fear. The child, hatred, blaming my parents for not loving me and refusing to grow up causes my hatred. The rising angel, 6, the rising angel, anger, not doing what it takes to rise to the occasion causes my anger.
Hidden. So which of those archetypes most touched you?
Oh, wow. The one that touched me the most, anger, not doing what it takes to rise to the occasion causes my anger.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the child, and we had quite a few 5s today. When I give up the idea of free will, I also give up hatred. And that is a very big one. Like, even if, your child died or was killed in a car accident and you hated the driver that caused that, when the idea that we're all involved in a big dance that we don't understand, we're all a part of a big tapestry, and we're moved as we move on it, and it has nothing to do with our precious sense of agency, then another thing that disappears is hatred. So I encourage you to take those thoughts into your week and see how much more tender and kinder and generous and wiser you can be with yourself. And if you were allowing yourself to be kind and to understand that there's a bigger game besides the individual game of my wins or my losses, then that's the place where we are most in touch with our higher self, in my listening. That's the highest place. And Amanda, you raised your hand.
I have a question, but it's not relevant to this moment. So you finish this thought. Yeah.
Okay, so what is the question?
In relation to not taking responsibility for my life causes my fear, under the notion that there is no individual willpower, what is meant by taking responsibility?
So that's, you all are asking kick-ass questions. So what I'm hearing you ask is, if there's no free will, where is responsibility? Is that
Yes.
basically the question?
Yes.
Okay. So, I learned a whole lot from a process called 5 rhythm. It's a form of dance.
I've done 5 rhythm.
Okay. And
Done.
it starts with flow. And the instructions of flow are very simple. Lay down until it is your flow to get up. Well, there have been sessions where I was laying down for an hour and a half. And it was very difficult to be in a place where I honored the desire to be on the floor. So said differently, try, Amanda, to stay in bed. You're not going to do anything. Oh, I don't have free will. Heck with it. I'm not going to go exercise. I'm not going to go make healthy food. I'm not going to clean my home. I'm not going to return those emails. I'm not going to make any phone calls. I'm not going to do anything. I don't have any free will. I might as well do nothing, right?
I don't desire that though.
But that's where the question is going.
Yeah.
Okay, try it. See how long you last without the impulse to move and to make something happen. And see
And it
if you
ultimately
can.
will come to the where we started, which is that we always get our core desires.
Right. So it works both ways. Like I can't necessarily will myself into being lazy as much as I can't will myself out of being any insert pattern here, whatever it
You got
is.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is the responsibility is to just be as I am.
Exactly. That's what Eckhart Tolle says. The intensity of the pain depends on the degree of resistance to the present moment. Just be here now.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just,
This applies to the victim because the victim chooses not to take responsibility for just who they are and or how they are expressing. They choose to believe they have willpower and therefore they feel I'm powerless to this thing that I am.
I don't
Okay, cool, thanks.